Alfonso.
Hey, what's happening? Paulie D, what's happening?
Welcome,
How are
Paul.
you, man? How are you? How are you
Good,
doing?
good,
I'm on
good.
the
Glad
phone
you.
zooming on the phone right now.
So
Oh,
you are on
cool.
the phone with my coworker, colleague, Adam.
Adam, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. What's going on, Paul?
Not much. Busy little work day and trying to get through is all.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah, got I don't know about I actually do I'm a yoga guy, so
There we go.
I've got yoga on the floor about 5 feet from me starting in about 2-3 hours.
Great. You teach
Nice.
it?
What's that?
You teach it?
No. Take it.
Fair
Take
enough.
it. Yeah.
Cool.
Do
What
what
kind of
I
yoga do you
can.
like?
What's that?
What kind of yoga do you like?
Um, not so crazy yoga. Everything seems to be hot. I'm in an attic apartment, so everything seems to be hot yoga right now, but not really hot yoga. But I guess I don't know. You call it vinyasa yoga, or I can't remember the name. But vinyasa yoga is probably good enough phrase for it. But it's pretty, it's pretty modern. I've been doing it I've been doing yoga on and off since I was about 32 and I'm 50 now. But I've really only been doing it consistently for about the last 3 years.
That's
I used to
awesome.
do, what's that?
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Anything that yoga is a practice and you can go deeper into it. And do you get something from the spiritual side of it as well? Or is it all just physical?
Um, I wouldn't say I get too much from the spiritual side of it. I'd say most of it is physical. But I think there's a little bit of, I think there's definitely times where I go, because I always do it after work. I think there's definitely a calming piece that I get from it. And I think if nothing else, it also helps me. It forces me into a routine on some level, because it makes me shut my laptop and get on to something else I need to do for myself. So, but nothing too past that, I wouldn't say.
Fair enough. Yeah. It just beware. You keep doing it. That's where it's supposed to lead you.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Maybe something. I don't know. I don't know how to quite put it in the correct terms. Like, I think that the physical benefits I get from it has me in a better mental place. All the things I used to, even in my very early 30s, I used to kid around with people that I would play shortstop in a softball league. And if there was a ball in the hole and I had to reach down to get it, I would groan as I reached down to get it. I just didn't have all that, and that was when I was like 31 years old. And now all those little things of, the little stuff like putting stuff in the dryer or getting stuff out of the back of the dryer or whatever it is, picking things around the house, gardening, things like that, all those things that I now feel the physical benefits of yoga because they're so easy to do now, mentally puts me in a good place.
That's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. How'd you find us today?
Al
Yeah,
is my brother-in-law.
Paul's my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yes. I've learned a lot from Al already. I got to get more of his classes in, but I've learned a lot through the years.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Al's the family instructor.
So you're Andrea's brother.
Correct.
Nice.
Yes. 4 years younger than Andrea.
Oh, the little brother. All right, gotcha.
Yes. As I'm sure have you met Andrea?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Oh, she'll remind you. Yeah, she'll remind you I'm the younger brother.
Yeah.
Nice.
The younger brother, the only boy of the Italian family.
Oh boy.
Got all the gifts,
No pressure.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Nice.
So you got a good spot for your meeting there, Adam. You're in the shed.
Yeah. Yes. This is I'm recreating the ideal gym in my mind, and that is I've got some mood lighting, and over here on the roof of my car I've got 5 sheets of plywood. I'm going to be building a lifting platform here where I'm sitting right now.
Fantastic.
Right. So my goal, and this is, I'll put it out there, this is official, this is just something I said today, is to snatch 185 by the time I am 45 years old. So that's 3 years.
Nice.
Nice.
I like it. I like it.
And that's a long way to go, because it's not something that I do. I just got into Olympic lifting maybe about a year and a half ago, if that. And that's like yoga. It's infinite. It takes forever.
Right.
And I
Right.
don't know
Right.
if I get anything spiritual from weightlifting either, but I do know that, just like you said, it puts me on such a routine. There's some sort of harmony in life that I get in, making myself do these things over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. So the snatch, that's mostly that's mostly legs, right?
Well, it's basically, and we could this is a fun thing to chat about, but the snatch would be almost like a quintessential measurement of your full body athleticism and connectivity, because you have to go from the ground with your arms kind of in a non-advantageous position, kind of out to the side. Then you've got to whip that up as high as you can. So that's a ton of back, hamstring, and kind of glute strength. They call it the posterior chain. So that's your body snapping up, everything in your body, whipping back, getting that weight high off the ground. Then you get underneath it and you catch it at the bottom of the squat. And then holding it there in an overhead squat, you have to stand up.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a lot of different muscle groups all coordinated at once.
But this is where martial arts led me. Alfonso's a big martial arts guy.
Right.
And the expression, express, correct movement, connection, alignment, deepen that. I look at Olympic lifting now as kind of the highest expression of martial arts, because for me, martial arts was about being able to exhibit a posture instantaneously to a high level of power, speed, power, and strength. And that's an art, because you got guys that can squat 800 pounds, or they can deadlift 1,000 pounds, and they couldn't snatch a tenth of that.
Right.
So
It's interesting how all roads lead to one place. For me, it's a efficient way to train, because you're using all of your muscles, major muscles, in a single movement. There's strength, there's power, there's coordination. So as opposed to traditional bodybuilding training that would take forever, with Olympic lifting, you get it done, and then it allows you to train the martial arts, or whatever other sport or activity you do.
that's a good point. Yeah.
I would also add that I feel like there's a lot of growth in movements, exercises, or modalities of exercise that are able to expose any type of weaknesses, right? So things like bodybuilding, usually that doesn't happen. Why? Because you can always work around it. You can always find a substitute, or you're isolating certain muscle groups. But bigger kind of challenges, such as like Olympic lifting or even yoga, where you're working the full extent of your mobility, or working the full extent of your strength or conditioning, like that's the stuff that really leads to growth and much better athleticism for for everybody, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I was saying I'm Paul, by the way. I'm Alfonso's brother-in-law. I don't know.
Paul, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So yeah, I was saying to the guys, I do a lot of yoga. When I first started full-time yoga, which was just about 3 years ago this month, one of the things I couldn't do was just a back bend on the floor. So support my body with, and it's interesting how I've seen myself, probably for a good year, I still couldn't do it. Not every class would do it, and everyone, whenever I had a free moment, that was the thing I would try to throw in. And here I am now 3 years later, and I can do it. And I'm trying to get a feel of why actually I can do it. Like what particular muscles are, is it I've gained, not inches, but like a few pounds of strength in the shoulder, a few pounds of strength in my wrists, a little bit over there. I'm probably not that much lighter. I'm around 250. I was like 270 when I started yoga, and I was down around 240, and then I put on about 10 during the COVID time so far. But yeah, I wonder where it's a little bit back, it's a little bit core. But I don't know. But it is kind of neat. I was just telling someone I've seen a lot of things I can do lately in yoga that, I definitely could think of myself 2 years ago that I couldn't do. So it is, the slow, but it's all that core stuff. It's all those, it's not isolating a single muscle, which is interesting also because I was telling, Al knows this, I tore my Achilles a couple years ago. Ooh. And the one thing that yoga doesn't do, which I kind of wish it did, is isolate individual muscles like my calf, because there's not too much of that. And I haven't really fully rehabbed my calf. And it's the one thing I really need to do to get to that more, get back to running would be nice. So, but yeah, it is interesting, the isolation versus not. But I do like yoga for that matter. I have friends who lift all the time who throw their backs out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul,
I think that's also.
Take another, Paul, write this down.
Sure.
Now, if I had made, one of us had made this video, or if Alfonso or Gary, if we have this video, then let's send it to Paul. And since we don't have it, we absolutely should make it. I know it's on our list to do, but look up Kelly Starrett, Starrett, Kelly, calf stretch on YouTube. And he does this amazing calf stretch where he kind of locks the foot against a door frame or something solid and vertical, telephone pole, light post, the gate to your yard, wherever you find yourself. Door frame is the most common thing. And you lock your heel in there, and then you spend about a minimum 2 minutes on each stretch. And he's applying some really sound principles to getting the tendons and the communication device between your brain and your body to relax and let the tissue lengthen. And if you had been doing those, you probably wouldn't have ruptured your Achilles in the first place.
Well, that's a very good point. I had a bad habit. I did this when I was 47, and I had a bad habit of using sports to motivate myself to get in shape. So I would go out there in the basketball court, kill myself, feel miserable. But when I was done, I was like, all right, now I know I got to do this, that, and the other so that next week I'll be a little bit better. And the second game I was out there is when I tore the Achilles. And it's the first time in my life that method of going out there and killing myself didn't work. I always came close to hurting myself, but I never did. And then all of a sudden, it all went south.
47?
This was, it was November 2017. So I was 47. Yeah.
So you found out the hard way.
I did.
Of a lesson that we would really want you to get. And that is that sports is not training.
Yeah.
Sports always leads to injury because of its competitive nature. You're not going to listen to your body. You're not going to, so training is like warming up, checking in. Training's like yoga. Yoga is training because you're systematically looking at, each part of the body step by step. And then it's making you better for all the other things you do. Like even if it's just grab something out of the dryer, you're getting the benefit of that. And you're not playing a sport. You're not playing the sport of let me see how fast I can get stuff out of the dryer. Because if there was a competitive sport on that, you'd probably cut your hand or, jam your finger or something like that. Sooner or later, something bad's going to happen when you're going as fast as you can.
Right.
But
yeah, that was definitely a learning experience going through all that. Because like I said, I've been able to get away with that most of my life without any serious injuries until that. And then all of a sudden, and I agree with you 100%. Like I'm able to really see it that way. I guess my problem is that I don't have I don't have a competitive option right now, which again is good because I don't need it. I don't need a competitive option in my life to make it to age 80, 85, 90, or however long I want to live. That's not as critical to me in life these days. And it probably wasn't that critical before. It was just I was using that as a way to get myself started. And in retrospect, that was dumb.
Well, you're an enlightened being, so you got the three of us here. What can we do for you, or can we come up with a exciting challenge for you to do before we see you again next time?
Well, I do have one question, and it's related to this calf situation. So my physical therapist told me that there's a weird thing with calf injuries that you can get permanently not bring up the bad calf up to the good one. That if you don't do the actual muscle isolation, that you don't bring the bad calf back up to the good one, which you'd think is weird, right? Because we use our calves every day. You would think that either the right one, the bad one would be forced to catch up to what the good one does on a daily basis, or the good one would be atrophying because it's not needing to do as much. Yeah. And yet even now, right now, it's 2.5 years later, and I can, I sometimes I go back when gyms were open, I was going to Planet Fitness mostly to do calf exercises and to get on the sled and really try to isolate the calf. And I was doing some different exercises there. But even now, if I were to do calf raises on one foot, I still can't do as many with my right as I can with my left. Probably not even half. And I'm curious if you guys have ever heard about that or have any thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even just the calf. I mean, you look at the shoulder, and we've trained with hundreds of people who experience the same thing. And it's any joint really that occurs. If you don't, even if you do rehab immediately after and you kind of get the joint functioning again, all the surrounding muscles, there's still usually so much work that needs to happen even after rehab that you can then start to really strengthen and access the mobility of that joint again to the point where it either used to be or it's very close to that point. But naturally it doesn't occur like through whatever methods of like walking or regular exercising and sports. If you don't focus on particular task exercises, stretches that release that tissue or strengthen that tissue, it'll always have the effects of that lingering injury holding it back.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Huh. Yeah, I guess, yeah, because like I mean I don't run much at all anymore, but I guess there's still something in my good calf that if I needed to run I could. Whereas if I've done a little bit of jogging. Mostly I'll do it on a football field so that I'm on grass and not pushing myself too hard, but I still haven't gotten that up. Well, I'm trying to, when I can, I'm trying to get some calf exercises in there and get a little running in there.
For sure.
I think back to my high school days, playing high school, like if I had an injury, you'd recover from the injury, you'd get back on the basketball court, you may limp for a little while, but eventually you'll get back to close to, you get back to full speed and you wouldn't even know it. Yeah. And it just kind of naturally happens, but that's a different lifestyle than the present lifestyle. So. Yeah,
for sure. And our bodies are so much more responsive at that point in time, right? Yeah. Like in our younger years, whether it's high school or college, like those years, our body is just so much faster in how it recovers, in how it strengthens and everything. But as we age, it just becomes slower and slower, that process. So, taking like the proper protocols to strengthen and really, again, kind of gain that capabilities is really what makes the difference. That's pretty much what I would say overall.
Yeah.
I would even go as far as to caution against, and this is only because I love Gary, and I love busting his chops, but like I would even go as far as to argue that age is much less of a factor than we would like to think that it is.
Okay, I mean that's fair. I'm just saying it has an influence.
It does and it can. You just need to do the work. That really is what it comes down to, and entice your body to behave the way that you want it to. And it entices a really gentle way of saying you might have to really work your ass off. to get it to do what you want it to do. But you know, any injury is with you for life. Unless you guys can tell me otherwise, but anything you've damaged, you always are aware of it in some way. It's never better than the original.
I don't know if I 100% agree with that. I see what you're saying. I think that does hold up for sure. But there are certain situations where I think you can, it depends on the severity of the injury is what I would say. If it's a minor injury, then yeah, you could definitely recover from it and get even stronger than you were before. If it's something a lot more significant, then the process of recovery is a lot longer, tedious, and you know, again, you can probably gain maybe that 100% that you were before, or like 95% or whatever the case is. But getting stronger than that point, if it was a severe injury, is usually a lot harder and not as feasible.
I think you definitely recover from the physical, but the mental part is always there. So last year, I pulled my groin in karate, and I was out from karate and physical activity probably for about a month. And I felt it, you know, just walking, sitting, and standing. It's healed, it's fine, but it's always in the back of my mind. And to Adam's point about doing the work, I am now doubling down on that. I warm up really good before class and really cool down and really stretch afterwards. And my classmates that are in their 50s and above that don't, they're always injured. It's a cycle. They get injured, they're out. They come back, they get injured again, and then they're out.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're spot on with that, especially like the mental aspect. And to what Adam's saying, that's absolutely right in terms of it stays with you, right? You'll never forget that experience you had with your calf or with any other part of your body that gets injured. It's something that you're always going to be, you know, cognizant of and very careful in what you do moving forward. And so, you know, sometimes that, you know, that leads to better results in terms of like, okay, you're more cautious. And sometimes that leads to bad results in terms of like, well, then you always feel like you're always going to get injured again and never push that muscle or that joint because you just don't want to cross that line, and then you never get better.
Yep. And that's silly.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Exactly.
Well,
it's
like
tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky for sure. Yeah. That's not even the whole thing with the me saying that I want to snatch 185. I have to put it as a 3-year goal and then look at where I'm at, you know, today, this afternoon. I just bought a house. I'm putting together this lifting platform. You know, I want to be able to make it a reality that I can do the things that I want to do here at home. And if I don't, so it's like setting the goal. The goal for me initially was to snatch 135 pounds. Why? Because that's like the first big plates. So like if I can put those on and do it, then like anybody, not that I give a real crap what anybody thinks, but anybody that sees me do it will be like, oh yeah, that guy's good. He can do a little something, you know. And then in the whole goal setting thing, I realized, you know what, it's not that's I could probably do that by the end of the summer. You know, so it's not really like a real goal, you know. But if I say 185, you know, the difference between putting another 2.5 or 4 pounds, 5 pounds on can be a big jump the higher up you get in those weights. So to make it a 3-year goal is almost like getting ready for the Olympics. And then what does that do on the daily basis? The daily basis means my training is much more focused and more intense. Now, will I get to 185? Time will tell. But I will probably go a lot further than I would if I was shooting for 135.
Yeah, and I think to what you're saying, it helps to set a lofty goal for the future. And, you know, definitely give yourself enough time, but it'll motivate you to like continue your training and continue getting better versus like shooting low and just looking for those little wins.
Yeah.
Funny that you guys say that, because when Al was talking about his karate class, I was thinking to myself, one of the things I love about yoga is I am almost never worried about hurting myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's there almost, and to some extent, I'll actually even I'll talk to my teachers and I'll also compliment them based on how well they end up warming us up, because I think that's one of the good things about yoga is that warming up process, and I guess I've learned a lot about the idea of getting blood flowing to your muscles. I don't think I thought about that as a high school athlete. You didn't think about that. You thought about and it was legit. Your coaches had you, run a few laps before practice, and that's what that was doing. But now I'm very happy with my teachers when they get me really stretched out. And I'm also really happy because I never am worried about getting injured. But I also the benefit of that is probably tied to slow results. So I got to decide if I'm happy with moderate results or not.
Well, it also gets into the thing with yoga. You can also say, well, do I want to get into the handstand thing or the headstand thing? And, that may or may not be in the classes that you're going through right now. And I know these guys will back me up on this. We do have a lot of people that do get injured going to yoga, going into some weird positions that they weren't warmed up for. So it's very interesting that something that's supposed to be safe and restorative many times, hurts people.
Yeah, I think that, a lot of that has to do with the approach, even your instructors, right? So the more your instructor gets to know you and sees your face, they know what you're able to do and what you're not able to do, and they're able to coach you appropriately. But a lot of times, like if you have a teacher or any kind of coach who's like just trying to have you do something without kind of knowing your full history or having that experience of working with you, then yeah, it could definitely set you up for some potential events like that.
Yeah. And I'm pretty good. As far as knowing myself and not, again, that's like when I'm playing a sport, as Adam kind of said, you have to push yourself because it's 100%.
Yeah, you're trying to win.
I'm very good in my yoga life because I won't push myself if I feel there's a need to pull back. And when I was recovering, when I got my cast off after Achilles surgery, I rehabbed for about a month and a half, and then I went back to yoga, knowing that I could go at whatever pace I wanted to go at.
Yeah,
and that's definitely one of the nice things about yoga is you can control things, and that was really great because it was neat to rehab, knowing and literally feeling a difference 2 or 3 times a week, and feeling my bad quad and my bad calf and all that kind of stuff slowly build and get better was kind of neat. It was helpful.
Nice. Well, as Adam said, definitely check out Kelly's stuff. He's a super smart guy when it comes to mobility and fixing injuries or just just getting that calf really loose and stronger.
Awesome. I will do that. I hate to say this, but I actually have to go. I'm still part of my work day, so I'm going to get going. But I'll see you guys next week.
Great, Paul.
Sounds good.